Youngsters among those arrested in anti-triad operation. Philippine Justice Secretary confirms no plans to visit Hong Kong for now. And British police make new appeal for information in missing girl case.
Good evening. Police have arrested 58 people during an anti-triad operation in East Kowloon. Among them, 13 secondary school students. The youngest is 13 years old. Jenny Lam reports.
These knives and metal rods are among the weapons confiscated during the anti-triad operation. Police have also seized gambling chips plus hundreds of thousands of dollars in Hong Kong and US currencies. Undercover officers infiltrated triad gangs 6 months ago and discovered that they were using youngsters to engage in illegal activities. Some 100 officers searched more than 60 locations and arrested 48 men and women. 9 of them are under 16 years old and the youngest one is only 13. They are suspected of being involved in robberies and other crimes, including wounding, drug trafficking, prostitution and illegal online gambling. Senior Superintendent of Kowloon East, Eugene Yu, said the teenagers were lured by small favors such as food and drink. Some of them acted as watchers at vice premises. Others responded to gang leaders' calls to make threats to specific targets or were involved in drug trafficking. Police say during the first 9 months of this year, there were 320 reported cases in Kowloon East of youngsters under 16 years old being involved in criminal activities. Although this was a drop from the same period last year, police will continue to liaise with schools in the district to prevent teens from being recruited by triad gangs. There are 8 mainland women among those arrested in the police raids. Some are illegal immigrants or have overstayed their visas. The gang is suspected to have rented rooms in 5 to 6 new hotels in the district to provide sex services. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
There were further calls today on the government to put pressure on the Philippines to apologize and give compensation for the 2010 Manila bus hostage tragedy. Some victims of the incident and their families think the government should consider putting a halt to the processing of new contracts for Filipino domestic helpers. The Democratic Party, meanwhile, is calling for trade sanctions against the Philippines. Jenny Lam again.
Survivors and families of dead victims of the 2010 Manila bus hostage incident are disappointed after a meeting with Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying on what the government can do for them.
Che
Chi-kin, the elder brother of slain tour guide Master Che, says the chief executive talked about solutions that might not affect Hong Kong people or Filipinos in Hong Kong. And that left them frustrated, as the government has not done more to push for an apology and compensation from the Philippines on their behalf. People Power called on the government earlier to stop processing domestic helper contracts for Filipinos. Today, one of the survivors of the hostage crisis, Lee Ying-chun, says if sanctions are adopted, then there should be a comprehensive policy targeting working visas for Filipinos who want to come to Hong Kong and not just new domestic helpers. But she added that domestic helpers already working in Hong Kong should not be made scapegoats because they have already contributed to the local society. The families want a timetable, promises and targets from the government on when and what can be done. The Democratic Party believes trade sanctions are the answer. They want the government to lead a boycott of Philippines products and cancel all commercial and cultural exchanges. Legislator Sin Chung Kai points out that Hong Kong imports about $40 billion worth of products from the Philippines each year. He believes a boycott will have an immediate effect and improve Hong Kong's bargaining power with the Philippines over the hostage killing. The Democratic Party will meet with the government to discuss their suggestion. Meanwhile, Philippine Justice Secretary Leila de Lima dispelled a media report that she might come to Hong Kong to offer an apology. She clarified that she has not been instructed by President Bernardino Aquino to do so. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
Frustration is running high in the United States, where bickering by Congress and the White House has done nothing to end a government shutdown and avoid a debt default. With the less than 72 hours before the debt ceiling expires, protesters took to the streets to express their anger. It was ugly on the streets of Washington, D.C. yesterday, where liberals and conservatives used landmarks as stages to act out their frustration. They're peeved that political leaders have run amok, rendering hundreds of thousands of people jobless and pushing the debt ceiling issue down to the wire. The masses were so angry, they literally dismantled the gates that closed the World War II memorial. That's where Tea Party leaders like Sarah Palin and Senator Ted Cruz also voiced their outrage.
Is this any way that a commander-in-chief would show his respect, his gratitude to our military?
Let me ask a simple question. Why is the federal government spending money to erect barricades to keep veterans out of this memorial?
Over on Capitol Hill, senators whose responsibility is to mend the government's budget woes remain divided. They're struggling to determine how much federal spending should be permitted in a budget extension that would reopen the government and how long any new borrowing limit should last. But senators insist negotiations with GOP leaders are going well.
Madam President, I've had a productive conversation with the Republican leader this afternoon. Our discussions were substantive, and we'll continue those discussions.
Offering her 2 cents, the head of the International Monetary Fund said the time to act is now. Christine Lagarde insists by raising the debt ceiling, America will honor its signature and give certainty to the rest of the world.
If there is that degree of disruption, that lack of certainty, that lack of trust in the US signature, it would mean massive disruption the world over, and we would be at risk of tipping yet again into recession.
But for now, the fierce budget battle nags on between Senate Republicans and Democrats.
New York City detectives have solved a decades-old homicide case. The victim was a little girl dubbed Baby Hope, whose naked body was found inside a picnic cooler beside a Manhattan highway in 1991. Her parents never reported her missing. Police arrested the girl's cousin last Friday, who confessed to sexually assaulting and smothering the girl. More from NBC News.
After more than 2 decades, the murder case of a young girl known only as Baby Hope until now is finally solved. Police say following the arrest of a suspect on Saturday.
Today, NYPD investigators have given young Angelica her due justice.
In 1991, police found the body of a 4-year-old girl inside a picnic cooler, dumped along a highway in Upper Manhattan. The story made headlines and launched an investigation that would span more than 22 years. Officers assigned to the case, including retired homicide detective Jerry Giorgio, never stopped looking for her killer.
We thought of her as almost one of our own children.
They even helped pay for her headstone at St. Raymond's Cemetery, inscribed, "Because We Care." This summer, detectives renewed their focus on the cold case, putting up flyers and canvassing neighborhoods for clues. Then in July, a break. A woman came forward, investigators say, with information about the child's adult sister. The tip and a DNA test allowed the police to finally locate the baby's mother and identify a suspect. Saturday, police arrested Coronado Juarez, a cousin of Baby Hope, now identified as Angelica Castillo.
Juarez admitted that he sexually assaulted Angelica, that he smothered her and then disposed of the body with the aid of his sister, Balvina Juarez Ramirez, who is now deceased.
Detectives who worked the case from the beginning expressed relief.
When we visit this plot now out at St. Raymond's, we could now attach a name to this little girl.
A name and a place in the hearts of those who never gave up. Michelle Franzen, NBC News, New York.
A new development in the case of British girl Madeleine McCann, who disappeared from a Portuguese resort in early 2007. Scotland Yard has released images of 2 men they want to question after investigators revised their theory of events leading up to the girl's disappearance. James Aiken has the latest.
Madeleine McCann was just 3 years old when she went missing from her room at a holiday resort in Portugal while her parents dined with friends at a nearby restaurant. The case sparked a global search for the little girl, but yielded few results. Now, investigators are taking a closer look at sightings, movements, and phone records of thousands of people near the Algarve resort at the time McCann disappeared. The renewed focus has produced these computer-generated images of 2 white men between the ages of 20 and 40. Police hope the images might help move the investigation forward.
The e-fits are clear, and I'd ask the public to look very carefully at them. And if they know who this person is, please come forward.
The images are based on information from separate witnesses as part of the most detailed reconstruction of the case yet, in the hope that someone will come forward with vital new information. The program will be broadcast in Britain, Germany, and the Netherlands. It also contains a computer-generated image of how Madeleine would look at 9 years old. Madeleine's mother, Kate, is also interviewed for the program.
We're not the ones that has done something wrong here. It's the person who's gone into that apartment and taken a little girl away from her family.
Detectives say they have dozens of people they consider persons of interest, but little else to go on. Police are expected to make new appeals for information in various other countries as well. James Aiken, TVB News.
A total of 3 Americans now share this year's Nobel Prize for Economics. They are Eugene Fama, Lars Peter Hansen, and Robert Schiller. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences honored the 3 for their empirical analysis of asset prices. Their work, the Academy said, contributed towards deepening understanding of how asset prices move. They will share $1.2 million. And still ahead in our newscast, new business opportunities from exam takers from the mainland. Doctors suspended for a month after being guilty of professional misconduct, and a protest against MTR fare hike.